Hey, how's it going, Achen? Like I said, I watched some of your video and looked over some other kind of pitching mechanics and whatnot just to get some similarities here. But glad to see you're getting your work in. Keep getting it on, and I know you won't be able to probably come till January, but hopefully you're doing okay up there in Canada, man. All right, so yep, just watching over your video. A few pretty big things I see here that I think will not only help like that movement we've talked about, but also just getting some of that velo to stay up a little bit more consistently. I know you remember last fall, we were able to see your pull downs, at 94 or whatever it was, but the velo on the mound just wasn't there comparative to that. It's still good, but wasn't there. Um, and so yeah, just kind of look at some of the things that we can kind of tweak and stay within the body still to be able to do that. So always remember when I give you guys suggestions, I want you to try some things, kind of work through some of the things. But a lot of what I'm coaching right now and with what we're about to do is just finding different power positions. So I don't want you to get outside of your own pitching ability and skills like that, but I do want you to try to get into these powerful positions just to be able to use the mechanics that you already have a little bit better, basically. Um, all right, so we'll compare you to kind of two guys here. Most of it will be Garrett Cole here on the left side of the screen. I know it's not the best video, but it's not too bad at least. And you're on the right. So first thing I see though is I think we talked about this maybe a little bit last fall too. It's talking about just looking at you falling down the mound, um, which you do really great at. You're starting a really good positioning right there. So if you can see it kind of you know, oh, sorry. You've moved from this back line right here, but you can still see that leg is completely locked on, and that's what you really want. However, there's something kind of a pretty big difference here with Cole. So he's starting to gain his. He just started to fall, so he's kind of in that same spot as you are right here. However, I want you to take a look at his front knee and kind of front hip. So we got yours. If we were to line this up, it would be quite a bit on the inside of this back leg, right? But if you look at Cole's, I know it's a little bit different of a side angle, but it's not too far off of yours. If you looked at that, his front knee, it's almost level with or behind that loading leg, that back leg. Um, and so it's a small thing, but it's actually really big. So what's this doing by having you already having this kind of open up stance compared to Cole on the left is you'll see it here later in the video, but it's going to cause you to open up your hip so much earlier than most of these MLB pitchers that I've been watching the videos on. Um, and so again, we're really just looking at, what am I doing with this front hip and this front leg? And right now, it's already started to open. If you were, right, if the camera was right exactly on a side angle, your leg would probably be almost exactly parallel with it. It wouldn't really be coming across your body, but it's almost exactly parallel with your body. So that's the very first thing, which I think is a big thing, and it's going to impact some things we're about to talk about. But really focusing on this leg right here and this hip just to get loaded back here. I mean, I would almost like to see, your hips rotated further back and getting this knee almost, in this area right in here. And again, that's just to basically get into a powerful position. It's to get into this hard loaded position. Um, and so just really being conscious of that and getting loaded because it's almost like this motion where, let me pull this back up. As you start to fall down the mound, the front side of your body, and especially, yeah, you see that front leg, it's literally just picking straight up. It's not getting loaded at all. Because, yeah, the objective of that front leg, especially as we start to fall down the mound, is almost to work against our other leg. It's almost to, almost in a way, act as like a spring, We have most of our body trying to drive down the mound. However, we have our front side and especially our front hip and leg working backwards, trying to also keep us composed over that back leg. And it's almost in the kind of coil sense. Whereas here, you're just letting yourself fall and you're just picking that leg straight up, where instead it needs to go from here And as you start to lift, it needs to start shooting backwards almost to get that loaded position in there. Um, yeah, so that's one of the big things I see right away. Um, and I think that's going to have a lot to do with what we're talking about. But one other small thing I kind of saw, just like looking at some of the other videos, is watch your front foot here, man. It's pretty, or your back foot, sorry. It's really not lined up to the mound. I mean, if you watch pretty much any pro guy, I would not say it's really open, but usually it's definitely just parallel with the mound. So just a small thing that you can kind of keep yourself aware of. Okay, so we'll keep going down your motion a little bit. So like I said, we're going to talk more about loading and then your hips leaving early right here. So you start to fall down the mound. You're trying to stay loaded. You're doing a good job at trying to keep on that back leg. But again, if you would have loaded the hip a little bit earlier or more, it would help you later on in the sequence. All right, so I'm going to stop right there. So I want you to take a look, before I go to Cole's video here, I want you to take a look at that front leg and that front hip. Front hip is already slightly opened up right here, and this leg is already wide open. I mean, that foot's already completely turned out here. And so let's watch a little bit of Cole here. Boom. Oh, I missed a spot there. Let's go back one or two. So, okay. Pretty similar spots right about there. He's maybe a touch earlier. Let's have him go one more frame. Yep, there's one more frame. All right. So really similar spots here just in your power motion. However, if you look at this front leg of his, it's still completely closed off, right? That knee is completely still, parallel to the video right here, where yours is already opening up, almost already to the catcher, how much that's already opened up. And that was one thing I know we had talked about last year. We did that drill where you kind of slid your foot on a med ball. But a big part of it is you're just letting this hip open up early. And you really, really, really are letting that thing open up early. And so that's going to just take so much of that last second hip twist that we want. And it's more making it into all of a sudden a gradual hip motion, which, can still pitch well, but it's that very late, fast hip twitch that's going to really boost the velo and really get it going, which is what you want. So just being able to, we said close off right away when you load up, and then also continually stay with that closed motion right there. I see your upper body here is trying to do it, and it's doing a good job at trying to stay closed off, but that lower body is just raring it. I mean, as soon as you get moving down the mound, oh gosh, come on, computer. But yeah. There we go. All right, so yeah, sorry, computer glitch. But yeah, as soon as you get going down that mound, you are already right there. You're already starting to open up. You see that thing? That knee is already starting to open up. And that is not the case in all these other pro videos I've been watching. Is when they move down, it's close, 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 close. Boom. Now I'm opening up. And at that point, he's way, way down the mound, whereas you open, 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 still open, and you're almost at that point where he is at right now, and he just opened up, and you've been opened up all the way since up here. So really fighting that urge to open that foot, but to try to keep that hip just locked out. And I don't necessarily care where this leg, your front leg, goes, but that front hip has got to stay closed off way further down the mound. You got to stay in that recoiled position, because again, that's going to add a lot to your velo, which is something that you need, and I think you can gain from that. All right, kind of continuing on, I'm going to show you Yu Darvish here now. There we go. So looking at some of your finishing on your pitching there, is I kind of picked Yu Darvish because you both kind of collapse a little bit lower, which is fine. Some guys do that. Whereas Cole's just a little bit more straightened up usually when he finishes pitching. But, all right, so you guys are in a very similar frame right here, right? Very similar. You got a lot of the same angles. So I mean, some immediate things that I just see that could be causing some loss is look at his chest angle versus your chest angle. Um, there we go. Yeah, but if we see, sorry, my computer's going nice and slow. There we go. So yeah, if we look at this chest right here, like that's your line right there. But if you look at you Darvish on the left, he is so much further out there extended with his chest over that front leg. I mean, if you look at that, his head on you Darvish is right now over top of his knee, whereas your head would be somewhere around the middle of your quad right there. And it may seem like it's a small thing, but having that much more drive in your chest, it can be really, really huge. It's going to help cock that arm a little bit further back. It's going to help you snap at the end of the motion, which is where I think another area where you're a little bit flawed at is there's not a huge, huge snap right at that end of the motion. So just being willing as we get to an extension to drive that chest at the very end, to really push that thing through. And that's going to actually, it may feel like you may push that chest too much and it may feel like you're collapsing too much on that leg, but instead trying to get that chest to press over top and creating that snapping motion, thinking of like a whip, how it just kind of slowly goes out and it comes from bottom up and snaps down. So, at this point you've already done the work with the lower half, but now we just got to do this upper half where it's really snapping through there a little bit. Yeah, so that was another thing I saw, especially you, Darvish, and you kind of have that similar knee position right here, a little bit collapsed, which again, it's fine. It's kind of who you are as pitching, but you can still get a lot more of a chest drive over top of that. And then one other thing I saw here, let me pull this thing back, is has a little bit to do with your sorry, computer's going real slow. All right, so with your arm motion right here. So, you got your arm motion, and it's going, going, going. So let's watch that arm and really kind of watch your shoulders. And then, so to get to point right here, right, we know we talk about this tilt that we need to get to, and you've probably heard me talk about that. So you start in a good tilt, that's awesome. But then as you actually start to get loaded, you level out quite a bit. And I was watching Yu Darvish, which not a lot of guys do this, but he actually does a very similar thing where he levels out the shoulders as he gets loaded pretty quickly. Like at that point, he's already loaded. You're at a pretty, maybe you're a frame or two past him. But I want you to watch Yu Darvish's elbow here on the left and watch the motion it's going to take. It's going to go from up high and coming straight down. So right there, you see that? And then he drives down through that. So let's watch that one more time. Got the elbow right there, and then it's going downward motion, right? It's not much. It's a small degree of angle, but it's definitely not just completely flat. Now let's watch your elbow here. So as we get here, you get loaded, and then your elbow comes actually straight across and almost at an upward angle. I mean, if you looked at it right there, there's almost this sense where you're going from here and you're almost coming up here, where instead we should be taking a drive spot, and it should be very, very slight. It should be coming somewhere right around in here. But yeah, you see that you're coming up right there. You're working against yourself. You started creating this momentum down the mound, but now you're trying to push up through it instead of let it just be used, basically. And so, yeah, I mean, one thing that could potentially help you is that this phase right about here of still making sure, we had our left shoulder up, but now just really making sure I'm going to take my throwing shoulder and drive downward through. And it's a small thing, but I think it can add up to quite a bit actually in there. And so yeah, that's the main things I've seen here. Kind of elbow pass, some of those things. One other thing, and why I kind of mentioned maybe taking a look at your side angles there is I would like to see how much. Oh, come on. All right, hopefully you're still there with me. All right. Yeah, so going back, so I'd like to see, we just talked about those shoulder angles right there. Hopefully you got, or the shoulder angle and the elbow path, but making sure you're really driving down through that thing. And then last thing I kind of mentioned why I wanted to see a side angle is I'd like to see how much you're sitting backwards versus coming over front of that knee. Because it is harder to get into some of these power positions if we're letting our weight shift further in front of our knees. Like I explained it, it's almost like a squat, barbell squat. Is we don't want those knees to come over our toes. We don't want to be rocking forward when we do that because it's a weaker position. It's harder for our body to just function in that path. But if we sit back into our hips, it allows so much more power to be had. It allows our back to be in good postures. That might help some of your chest kind of pushing too, is just because it's aligning up in different spots. So just kind of take a look at that and look at your videos and see, am I dropping way over that front knee? Or is that front knee dropping way over my toes? Or am I actually sitting back into that powerful part of your butt and your back and all that stuff? So yeah, just something to check out. Overall, I mean, I say all these things just saying like, hey, you're a good pitcher, but you can still gain a lot, and I think there's a lot more in there. So yeah, so hopefully you can work on some of these things, and I'll try to find some videos and stuff to send you some drills as well. But keep working there, Egg.